kids, I love mentoring young comics. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
It was such an intimidating process for me to go from somebody that is in the cubicle or on the job site or somebody that's working in an environment where they're barely clicking off one box on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, I know that level of frustration. And like being artists, we get that level of sensitivity. And like, I remember working with a guy named Buzzy in my first cubicle job. Buzzy had just gotten out of the Navy. He was the greatest guy ever. And he was thrilled. I remember him holding up his paycheck like out of a movie. He was like, would you look at this? And we got full bennies too. Every 2 weeks. I'm on top of the world. And I was thinking about ways I could kill myself on the way home because I knew I couldn't do that for another 40 years.
Yeah.
But we're different. We're all built different. And like when I meet somebody that's built different where they just can't do that normal thing, I'm like, how can I help? Okay. And I will say this, and this is not a knock, but over my 20 years in the Comedy Store, I can't think of anybody. I would explain the open mic system to the kids, the whole process. And I know things maybe did change the last couple of years when the Comedy Store was the hottest club in LA. But for a good 15 years, when I could get kids spots on the open mic, then it became impossible to, 10-year vets couldn't do an open mic there. But I would explain to people, you just have to hang out, show up every week. Just keep on showing up. That's it. Number one, just keep showing up.
Yep.
Nobody came more than 3 weeks in a row. Whereas for me, Pauly Shore walked me into that club. It was his mother's club. Pauly Shore walked me in, and it still took me 8 years. Wow. 8 years of showing up before I got paid to do comedy there.
Wow.
I show up every week for 8 years for nothing.
Yeah.
So it goes, all right, man. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you it was easy.
Everybody thinks there's a cheat code, and we're holding on to it because we make a living in entertainment. Give me the cheat code, man. Like, don't make me fight for it.
Here, I'll give you the cheat code, okay? And Thomas Edison said it better than anyone else. I mean, well, maybe the guy who first said it and then Edison stole it. But what Edison's credited with saying.
What did Tesla say?
So Tesla said that most people miss opportunity because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. That's it. You got to do the work. That's it. You got to get your hands dirty, and you got to do it. You got to show up. Like you said, Steve, you got to fucking show up. If you don't show up, guess what? While you're sitting down, the guy behind you can see what you were looking at.
And you know what I think?
Good.
I was going to say, I don't want, because I could easily sound like a cranky old man. I do not want that to, because I look at the lack of opportunity for a lot of these younger kids. And America used to work figuratively and literally. And it doesn't work in either sense of that definition. It just doesn't work anymore. Like you have these, like customer service. Like you go to call a company and there's no customer service. Like the few companies I choose to do business, like my Bank of America's got great customer service. And that's like why, because you can call and talk to a person. But so few of these companies, like you go to talk to somebody, it's frustrating. You got to do it yourself and you get disconnected and they were like, we'll call you back, and they never call you back and you can't figure anything out. Nothing works anymore. They've cut corners in this country so much that like, so the people at the top can make an extra 30 million this year. Meanwhile, the person down on the front lines doesn't have any backup. They're in a firefight trying to take care of customers. So I don't blame them for going, you know what, forget it. I'm out. Let me go get my 600 UBI. I get it. Because the opportunities aren't there.
Yeah. And everybody's too good to do the job they're hired for. You know, and the comedy club's a perfect example. Every MC should be featuring. Every feature wants to be a headliner. Every headliner wants to have a TV show. Every guy who has a TV show that comes back to comedy just wants to be a funny comic again. Nobody's okay with where they are. Everybody wants to be somewhere else.
I'm very happy to be a host. Just throwing that out there. MC, I'm very happy to be hosting. Just keep me fucking working, you know. Especially because I'm not a fucking comedian. Just just put me up there. I'll tell my occasional ha story.
That's
you know.
where I'm with my whole career. Like, well, I'm a middle class comedian. What a blessing this is. Like now that I live in normal people, Florida. Like I don't live in Miami. I don't live at the beach. Like I'm with normal people. And when they ask me what I do for a living, like I'm embarrassed to tell them. And I'm also so grateful.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that like I see all my neighbors wake up at 6 a.m. to go to work. And I'm like, going back to bed, like I can check and I'm like, this is a blessing. Like, I'm just so grateful for what I